Imagine if history wasn't random, but part of a plan that ends with you. In the beginning, there was darkness. Then came the Word, and it brought light. In a work that begins with the creation of the world and ends with the coming of the final day, one man tried to grasp the impossible, the entire history of mankind, through the lens of faith. His name, Ibn Kathir. His work, Al-Bidaya wan-Nihaya, the beginning and the end. In an age where myths and opinions competed for dominance, Ibn Kathir believed, truth does not begin with man, it begins with Allah. This video is not a journey through dates and events. It is a journey through a worldview that does not see history as coincidence, but as part of divine intention. We look into the work of a man who was not just a historian, but a guardian of revelation. What can we learn today from someone who sought to illuminate both the past and the future through the light of truth? Ismail ibn Umar ibn Kathir was born in 1301 in Syria, during a time of political unrest and theological debate. He grew up in Busra, later moving to Damascus, then a flourishing center of Islamic scholarship. Early on, his thirst for knowledge became apparent. He studied under prominent scholars, most notably Ibn Taymiyyah, whose teachings profoundly shaped his thought. Particularly Ibn Taymiyyah's emphasis on returning to revelation and rejecting unfounded speculation became the foundation of Ibn Kathir's approach. But Ibn Kathir was no mere follower. He combined the methodology of his teachers with a broad historical perspective. As a Quranic exegete, mufassir, hadith scholar, muhaddith, and historian, he constantly sought to connect authentic sources with the unfolding of human history. His Tafsir Ibn Kathir became a standard in Quranic commentary, but his greatest legacy lies in one monumental work that encompasses everything, Al-Bidaya wan-Nihaya, the beginning and the end. What is history? To many, it's a sequence of dates, names, and wars. To Ibn Kathir, it was a revealed current, flowing from one source, Allah, unfolding through time, directed, tested, purposeful. In his work, Al-Bidaya wan-Nihaya, he doesn't offer history through the eyes of the victors. He writes from the standpoint of truth, as it is revealed, not as men narrate it, but as Allah wills it. Three core principles run through every page of this monumental work. Firstly, history begins with creation, not with mankind. Ibn Kathir does not begin with a king, a tribe, or a civilization, but with the creation of the heavens and the earth. His chronicle starts where belief starts, with Allah, with Adam, with what no eye saw, except through the light of revelation. He writes about the angels, the creation of light and darkness, the fall of Iblis, and the beginning of human life. And he doesn't speculate. He builds upon the Quran, the Sunnah, and trustworthy narrations. For him, history is inseparable from divine will. That's why it begins not with man, but with the divine command, be, and it is. Secondly, transmission is not neutral. Not all narrations are equal. Ibn Kathir was not a mere collector of tales. He was an evaluator, a distinguisher, a guardian. In his work, he clearly distinguishes between authentic reports, weak narrations, and outright fabrications. If he mentions a questionable account, he always includes a remark, "And Allah knows best," or "This narration is weak, its chain interrupted." He was a scholar with a sense of accountability. He knew, whoever transmits history shapes the thinking of the Ummah. So he applied the principles of hadith science, analyzing chains, evaluating narrators, separating truth from myth. In an age where fiction easily became accepted truth, Ibn Kathir stood as a barrier against distortion. Thirdly, history does not end in the present. It leads to the hereafter. One of the most striking features of Al-Bidaya wan-Nihaya is its final chapters. Ibn Kathir doesn't stop at the events of his own time. He continues, writing about the signs of the hour, the day of judgment, the afterlife, paradise, and hellfire. For him, the end of history is not political. It is cosmic. History doesn't end with a caliph, but with the divine reckoning. He describes in awe what the Sunnah reports: the return of Isa, the emergence of the Dajjal, the great reckoning, the weighing of deeds. Thus, history becomes for him a path to awakening. Whoever understands the past sees the present clearly, and whoever remembers the last day lives with purpose and acts with responsibility. Al-Bidaya wan-Nihaya is more than a book of history. It is a reflection of divine order, a call to approach the past not with nostalgia, but with understanding, a call to face the future not with fear, but with preparation, and a call to live the present not in heedlessness, but in awareness. In a time when history is often used to shape ideologies or manipulate emotions, Ibn Kathir reminds us of a different approach: not to control, but to clarify; not to entertain, but to awaken. His work is a compass in the storm of modern noise, speculation, and selective memory. What can we, in the digital age, in an era of information overflow and historical amnesia, learn from his method and mindset? Firstly, history needs honesty, not hero worship. Ibn Kathir did not write to impress. He wrote to preserve, to order, to protect the truth. He never glorified blindly. Even when writing about great figures, he remains balanced, mentioning both virtues and flaws. In an age hungry for heroes and simplified narratives, he teaches, integrity is more valuable than admiration, because only through honesty can we act justly in the present. This attitude is urgently needed today, in families, in education, in media, and in religious discourse. Not the most exciting story matters, but the most truthful one. Secondly, transmission is a trust. Knowledge is not a toy. In a world where people casually repost quotes, spread hadiths without verifying them, and tell history in seconds, Ibn Kathir reminds us, knowledge is an amana, a trust. It must be handled with care. It must be verified. It must be treated with humility. He shows us, it is no weakness to say, Allah knows best. It is strength, a form of reverence, a form of honesty. In a world full of noise, he calls us back to quiet reflection, to caution, to listening before speaking, to reading before judging. Thirdly, history is not a rearview mirror. It's a bridge to eternity. Perhaps the most profound insight in Al-Bidaya wan-Nihaya is its horizon. For Ibn Kathir, history doesn't end in the world. It ends when truth becomes fully visible, on the day of resurrection. He reminds us, the real story of every soul does not end with death. It begins there. This perspective heals. It puts our worries in context. It calls us to focus on what matters: deeds, intentions, sincerity. In a world obsessed with the now, Ibn Kathir brings us back to the eternal. Ibn Kathir's work is like a lantern in the dark, a reminder that history is not just a record we read, but a mirror we look into. He left us no ready-made opinions, but a clear framework: Quran, Sunnah, integrity, responsibility. And perhaps true education begins where we stop telling ourselves what we want to hear and start asking what Allah wants us to understand. History has many faces, but only one truth. Ibn Kathir did not seek the loudest voice. He sought the most reliable source. He believed those who treat the past with reverence can face the future with clarity. In a time where history is weaponized, to divide, to validate, to control. His legacy reminds us. In Islam, history is more than memory. It is a form of worship, a bridge between what was and what is yet to come. Al-Bidaya wa Nihaya is not a museum. It is a path, a road that teaches us to question, to examine, to trust, and to live in a way that makes our own ending a good one. Because in the end, it's not about names and dates. It's about what we do with them. What does history mean to you in the light of faith? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to dive deeper into the teachings of great scholars, subscribe to our channel. Because those who remember the beginning do not forget what the end was made for. May Allah make us among those who learn with reverence and live with sincerity.